Hey, welcome to the Mighty Meeple. I'm your host, Eric Schwartz. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at this card game that's heading to Kickstarter soon called The Greatest Snake. It's designed by Joshua Kurtz and Darren Urmey, and the artwork is done by Max K. And if they succeed in their Kickstarter, it will be produced under their label Second Slice Studios. And they sent me this copy. It's a print and play copy just so that I could play it and let you know what I thought. And I'm going to do just that. To start off with, though, we're going to go to the table and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this game and how you play. If at any time you just want to jump ahead to my review portion, check down the description. I'll have timestamps that'll take you there. But otherwise, let's just go to the table.
Alright, so let's start off taking a look at the components here. Obviously, as a print and play copy, we're not going to look at any quality or anything like that, but we can take a look at the card art for this game that they've already developed. So starting off here, we have the player snakes. This is what the players will start with. We've got 4 different snake heads for up to 4 different players, and you got the awake side and the sleep side here. And that's important. We'll get to that later. But then we also have 4 cards that come with a kind of a starting body costume. These are not necessarily important, but they're just fun. And we also have 4 cards at tails, again, double-sided. But each player would take a head, a middle body, and a tail to start off the game. So now we're going to look at the equipment cards. These equipment cards you place on the snake bodies to give yourself extra powers. We have stuff, some of them are the same, like the chef hat and the portal here, both allow the rats to go through that portion of the body without stopping. But we have a whole bunch of stuff. They allow you to attack other players, they allow you to defend against attacks, so lots of things that you can do to add to your snake and give yourself powers. Then you also have action cards. As you can see here, a lot of these are doubles, but I do think they have plans to make additional art for some of these cards. So that they're all different and unique based upon stretch goals that are reached throughout the Kickstarter campaign. But we got a whole bunch of different stuff, some to attack other players like vomit, some to help you like laxative. We also have a crowdfunding card here. This is a special level, which if you pledge at a certain level, you get to have your personal, you will be added to that card. Finally, we have the meat of the game. We have these rat cards. Whole bunch of different rat cards. Every single one of these arts are different. Some of them may have the same attributes, but every card is different. A lot of, as you see the description here, is very funny. We got a lot of little puns. We have some cultural reference, like this smart rat and dumb rat, or like Pinky the Brain. But every one is a little different. There's the Rat King. That's a very special card that they have special rules for. But this is essentially what you're trying to eat to make your snake grow longer. So the rat cards, the equipment cards, and the action cards, if you look on the back, they all have the same back. It's the extra segments to the snake, and that way you don't know exactly what you're getting, but you also use these to add to the length of your snake. So I've started off the table here. We got a 4-player game going. Each player is going to get a head, a body, and a tail. It doesn't matter which ones you choose. They all have the same abilities. It's just different artwork. Make sure the head is on the awake side and not the sleep side with this mask. It's going to have a description of who the snake is. So it's important that the snake stays awake at the beginning of the game. You're going to give the deck a good shuffle and place it in the middle where everybody can reach. And then each player is going to get 1 card to start. So deal 1 card to each of them. And then players are going to look and see if they have a rat card, they're going to immediately discard it, and they're going to draw another card. And you're going to keep doing this until each player has a starting card that is not a rat. That is very important. At which point the first player is going to take a card from the top of the deck and start his turn. If it is a rat, he's going to place it immediately on his head. If not, he's going to keep it in his hand. And then from this point forward, all players can play actions and possibly equip equipment. So like in this case, it's a Pied Piper. Allows this player to take a rat from the pit and place it on his head. And you're going to keep on playing actions until until the end of the turn, at which point the player is going to say digest, and any rat that is in the snake will move towards the tail. Not just on your turn, it's after every turn. If you have a rat in your snake, it will move towards the tail. And then the next player is going to draw a card and start his turn. So we're further along in the game. As you can see, the snakes are a little longer here, and the game is just progressing as normal. A snake, if he is asleep at the beginning of his turn, will wake up, and then he will draw a card. And if it's a rat, add it to the head. And then players will play actions and use equipment in order to attack other snakes, to defend his own snake, or to help him some way by causing the snake to move forward or down. This action here allows you to steal equipment from another snake and place it on your own. And that's basically the game. You're just going to be playing actions. You're going to be equipping pieces of equipment onto your snake. And like this one here, you can attack another snake by squeezing the snake, and which will cause the rats to move towards the head, which will hinder the progress of the snake to grow their snake. At the end of the turn, of course, you say digest, and all the rats will move towards the tail on every snake. It's not just on the snake whose turn it is. When it gets past the end of the tail, it will be added to the body to make the body longer. And you're going to keep on doing this. So now it's the player up on the top. It's his turn. He's going to draw a card. And look at that. It's another rat. Put it on the head. So we're going to see here, this player on the bottom is going to use his piece of equipment. He's going to use the steamroller. He has to put his snake to sleep to do that. But the steamroller is going to squeeze the snake. And he's going to choose this snake up here. He's going to squeeze this rat. And obviously, there's a rat ahead of him up on the head, so that's going to force that rat out. But when a rat gets up to the head, you're going to vomit that rat out. So if you've already eaten a rat and it gets up to the head, well, you're going to lose that rat. You're going to vomit him, and he has to put him into the pit. Then we're going to use this action card, this laxative that's going to help these rats come to the end. And you're going to keep on doing this until a snake gets to 7 segments long, at which point the player wins.
And that's how you play the greatest snake. So as you can see, it's really easy to learn, really easy to play. The rules are not difficult at all. So if you're explaining this game to a new player, it's not going to take a lot of time to explain it and teach them the rules. It's not going to take a lot of time to set up. So this is going to make for a really great filler game and a really good, kind of around the table family game. Just something to have fun with, enjoy each other's time and company, and just have fun playing these cards and enjoying the puns, on the cards. It takes about 15 minutes to play. I think at tops that we had a 20-minute game, so it's a really quick game. It's nothing heavy by any means, and again, like I said, a great filler game, great family game. So, what are my thoughts on the game? First off, let me just say I thought it was a lot of fun, but there were a few flaws. And the first flaw I felt were these 2 cards right here, the Portal and the Chef's Hat. And I felt like they were a little overpowered. They allowed the rat to skip over this portion of the body on the snake in one direction, so just going towards the tail during digestion. If a rat got squeezed and it was going back up, it wouldn't skip over this portion of the body. So if you had both of these cards in your snake, it allowed you to catapult yourself, very quickly past the other players and really build up your snake very fast. And there was little that you could do to defend against it. So one thing that maybe could be done with this is not allow this power to be just one directional. So, by playing it on your body, on your snake, yeah, your rat's going to skip over it going towards the tail, but if that rat gets squeezed, it's also going to skip over that portion going back up to the head. So, you would have to kind of decide, is it worth playing that card on your snake? It would give you an advantage, but it would also give you a little bit of disadvantage. So that may be one way to balance out the card, but as it's set as it is, I feel like that this is overpowered. The next flaw I have is basically the starting hand. Every player starts with 1 card in their hand, and it makes the game a very slow game. Because pretty much at the beginning of the game, if you have an equipment card, you're just going to play it on your snake. And then you're left with nothing in your hand until the next time it comes around to you. And then you draw a card, and if you get a rat, then you put it down immediately, and you have nothing to play to attack other players or defend yourself against attacks. And it just makes the game very slow. It's very boring. It basically turns the game into a draw and play type of game, and you're not really strategizing. You're just picking the next card that you're going to put down, and immediately. So I feel like the card count of the game is very flawed. Now, that is one thing, even though that's in the current rule set, the designers have said that this is something that they are thinking that they're going to change. They're already thinking about it, and they encouraged us to try playing it at different card counts at the beginning of the game. So I tried it with 3 cards, and that was a vast improvement on the game. It allowed you to strategize throughout the game from beginning to end. It allowed you to think about the long-term game and what am I going to save these cards for, as well as thinking about what can I do right now. And it gave you options. That was one thing. By having 1 card, or even no cards in your hand, you have no options. But if you have some cards in your hands, 2 or more cards that you could choose from, it gave you some things that you can do and decide, okay, what am I going to do and how am I going to utilize these things? And so I think that is definitely a way to go. And if they don't change that in the rules, I encourage you to change it on your own, because it incredibly improved the game. And in my opinion, it also balanced out the fact that these are a little overpowered, because there was a game where we played with a larger starting hand where I got both of these cards on my snake. But because the other players had multiple cards in their hand, they had options, and they had cards that they could play against that. So, one of them got stolen from me. Others tried to negate that power or destroy that card, and I had to defend against it. So I had to decide, is it worth trying to keep, or should I save these defending cards for later in the game? And so it really increased the strategy, and I feel like that is a good change to make to the game. But as the current rule set is with 1 card, it makes it a little slow. Now, the third thing I think that is a flaw is the player count for the game. Currently set at 2 to 4 players, and this is definitely not a 2-player game. This is a game where you're trying to decide who you're going to attack, how you're going to defend against attacks, and if you just have one other player, a lot of those decisions are taken away from you. It's basically you're playing cards against each other, and it's a matter of just, who has the right cards at the right time. And so a lot of the strategy is taken away from the game by having it just 2 players. So this is definitely not a 2-player game in my opinion. 3-player game, it's a little better. 4-player game, I think, is a lot better. This is definitely a 4-player game, and I would love to see this as a 5-player game personally. Maybe that's something that if you get enough people saying this, maybe the designers will consider adding a 5th player option to this game, maybe as a Kickstarter stretch goal. But I think a 4 to 5 player game would make this a golden game. That would be a golden number for this. But as it stands, 2 to 3 player, definitely not a 2-player. 3-player, a little better, but not as good as 4. So those are the flaws with the game that I see so far. What do I like about the game? Well, first of all, I thought these cards were very, very funny. Very it was fun to laugh at these. There's a lot of puns, a lot of cultural references, a lot of game references, like portals. But some of the rats. You got Jimmy the Rat. I mean, gangster. It's hilarious. And some of the stuff that it has to do in regards to it. It can't be pushed around by other rats, aristocrat, a prediction rat, groundhog, a nihilist rat. He moves two spaces for every digestion phase because life is meaningless. So, some of these cards were just hilarious puns, and as they came to the table, everybody was laughing at them. Everyone was having a good time. It was very enjoyable. Some other things is like I said, the rule set is quite simple. It's basically limited down to 3 types of cards. You had the equipment cards, that's denoted by the sword, the rat cards, and you had the action cards, and those are basically the options. And you can you can choose how you're going to use them. When to make your snake go to sleep, and there's a lot of strategy involved to keep the attention of a serious gamer. But it's simple enough for someone who's not huge into gaming. It's simple enough that they can keep up and play along, and it was a lot of fun in my opinion. The artwork, I love the artwork. I think the artwork is whimsical, it's funny. It's every rat is different. Some of the rats, some of the powers may be the same from one card to another. Like I said, the chef's hat and the portal. But for the most part, every piece of equipment, every rat is different. So there's a little bit of different commentary down below, and a lot of different powers that you can have in the game. And so I love the variety of the game, and the artwork that goes along with that variety. This is a very fun game in my opinion. As you can see, it's not huge. It's just basically a little bit bigger than maybe a standard 52 card deck. So it's not going to take up a lot of shelf space. And so this is a good game to go for in my opinion. Like I said, there are some improvements that need to be made to the rules, and I hope that they take some of those things into consideration. From what I've seen and heard of the designers, they are taking some of those things into consideration. They are listening, and they will make improvements that they feel that it will make the game better. So these rules are not set in stone as they are. They have time to make improvements to them. And, I think that you should at least go check this game out. And because, personally, I'm going to give this game a 7 out of 10 as it stands. Well, let me say a 7 out of 10 with the 3-card start. If it's a 1-card start, I probably would reduce it down to a 6 or a 5. But a 3-card start, which they did tell me to try out because they were considering that, I would definitely put this as a 7 out of 10. So if you want to check this game out, check down in the description. I'll have a link to the Kickstarter down there. The Kickstarter runs from March 27th to April 25th. And I believe they said maybe $25 for the entry pledge to get 1 copy of the game. But they'll have better deals if you get more copies as you go up to higher tiers. So, yeah, if you want to go check this out, it's called The Greatest Snake. It'll be on Kickstarter. And, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any more questions about this game, leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. If I don't have an answer, I'll get it from the designer and get it back to you as quick as I can. And if you enjoy what I'm doing here on this channel, please consider subscribing. It will let you know anytime I put out a new video, whether it be a review or unboxing, playthrough, anything about board games. I love tabletop games, and that's what I talk about on this channel. But until next time, game on, my friend.